Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode. Just want to remind you that our good friend Michael David Wilson at This Is Horror has a writing and editing consultation service. He has worked with people such as Josh Mallerman, David Moody. If you want to find out any more information, go to michaeldavidwilson.co.uk/editing. And welcome to Dead Headspace, a part of Silver Shamrock's Horrorcast, a podcast network that includes Killing Time with Silver Shamrock and Unburying the Dead, where we exhume classic horror paperbacks for the new generation. I am sorry, guys, my chicken scratch is throwing me off.
Would you like me to help you with your name?
No, because I was actually going to say something else.
Where you got stuck.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I had something new. I'm just going to add, start from a spot that makes sense to me. Okay. Where we exhume classic horror paperbacks for the new generation with guest hosts for each episode, such as the likes of Chuck Palahniuk, Jonathan Chance, and Chad Lusky. I'm your host, Patrick R. McDonough, joined always by my co-host, Brian LaFaro. Say hi, Brian.
Hello, everybody.
And today, this will be our last roundtable episode for season 2. We're focusing on self-publishing with Sonora Taylor. Say hi, Sonora.
Hello. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. Twice in 1 month.
I know.
Did you mute Tyler?
I should get a punch card.
Tyler's muted now.
Did you say hello?
There you go.
I don't know.
Oh, you were muted there for a second.
I don't run this introduction anymore. And we have Michael Clark. Say
Hello.
hi, Mike.
Hello.
And we have Nico Bell. Say hello, Nico.
Hello.
And we have Tyler Jones. Say hello, Tyler.
Hello.
And for anyone that's new, just joining us for this episode or ones where they haven't met any of these guests, they are all returning guests. All you got to do is check out the episode list. So, Brennan, I'm going to throw it to you because this was your idea. I want to hear why self-publishing, where you came up with the thought of this, the guest list, and anything else you can think of, then throw it to whomever you want.
Sure. So, I mean, obviously, I have probably the least to say of most of the people here because I have never self-published anything, but I am very interested in that. I feel like it's a really good time to be self-publishing, and there is a lot to know about it if you are either new to it or you haven't done it, but you're considering it, or you're traditionally published and you might like to look at releasing some of your works that way. And we've got 4 people who have been there, done that, who are going to have a lot to say. So I'd love to throw it to each one of you individually and just give us a quick rundown. You know, don't need to go too specific, but a quick rundown of your history with self-publishing. And Sonora, I'll start with you.
Sure. So I started out the gate self-publishing. My first book was a very short story collection called The Crow's Gift and Other Tales. It was 4 stories, and that was my first time collaborating with Doug Puller, who does all of my cover art, and he also formats the books for publishing and does the title page illustrations. And my editor Evelyn Duffy also looked at that book. So I've worked with the 2 of them on all of my self-published books since then. I have 7 currently, so it's been a good working relationship. I started out, just getting it up on Kindle, and then after publishing that one and also publishing my first novel, Please Give, which I was also working on at the same time, then I looked into paperback from there. And I can talk more about like the development journey either after others go or right now, whichever you'd prefer, because it can get a little long-winded. So I just wanted to catch myself before going down that path.
No, I think that's a great introduction, and as far as finding an editor and cover design and deciding on different formatting and finding somebody to help you format it, that's definitely something I want to hear you guys all weigh in on as we go on. Tyler, let's throw it to you, your introduction, if you will.
Yeah. So years ago, self-publishing used to be seen as sort of the failure, wasn't it? In terms of you couldn't get published traditionally, so you're self-published and you're selling your books at farmers markets. I mean, years ago, that's how it used to be seen. And I come from a background in music and playing in bands. So the way I've seen things is always that it's pretty rock and roll to put stuff out yourself. And I find it interesting that we, for a while, tended to view books as something that you can't do on your own. You can release music on your own, and that's rock and roll. You could, if you made paintings, you could set up at a farmer's market and sell them. You could try and get them in a restaurant or a gallery. You could put yourself out there, and that was cool. But for some reason, books seem to be this thing that if you self-published, you'd failed somehow. So all that to say, I kind of bought into that whole lie of got to get an agent because an agent can sell your book. And the only way to do that is to write a novel to sell. And then good luck getting an agent, because that's a long, very difficult process, as I'm sure all of us know to some degree or another. And I got antsy. I wanted to put work out there. And so that's what led me to self-publishing. And I just thought, I'll produce work, self-publish it, and try and shop novels to agents in the meantime. But at least I'm putting something out there while working on the other stuff. So that's what drew me down that path. And we can talk more about the details later.
It definitely does have that kind of punk rock mentality. And you're absolutely right in that it does kind of, there's a little bit of that validation aspect to it, that it almost feels like you're supposed to have somebody else sign off on your work and say, this is okay, we can put this into a book. But why is it different than painting, than music, where you can, do it yourself?
Yeah.
Nico, let's throw it to you.
Yeah, so I'm a little new to self-publishing. I self-published an anthology in 2021, this year, long year. And it was my first time jumping into that pool. And I really just wanted to put out an anthology on Shiver. Vernon's holding it up because he's in it. Fabulous. Because I wanted an anthology of a certain type of horror that I couldn't find out there. And I was like, well, I can do this. I can put this together myself. And that kind of opened the door for me. And that's what I really love to do. I really love putting it together. Me and Sonora, I'm sure we'll talk about, are putting together another anthology that's going to be put out next year. And I can see myself doing more, because if there's horror that I want that's not already out there, like, why not just meet up with the right people and do it yourself? Like, who's stopping you? So that was sort of my mentality. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of jump into the self-publishing pool.
That's a perfect fucking answer. There's an anthology. I want to read these stories, and there's no publisher putting this out. And like you said, we'll definitely dive in to the anthology you two are co-editing. But if you just sit on your thumbs and wait for somebody to put that out, then it in all likelihood it doesn't happen. So you guys are kind of willing it into the world. That's awesome. Mike, how about you, man?
Similar to Tyler, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't have any connections to anybody, didn't know anybody, starting from zero. I'm obviously a middle-aged man. I wrote something that I wanted to see as a movie or read as a book, and just threw it out there, basically. Just threw it out there and learned as I went, and just fell down the hill, basically, I guess. Spent a lot of money doing it, probably too much, and but learned a lot. And thankfully I still want to write after surviving the first few years of, after writing the first one. I like sitting at the keyboard and putting out words. And now that I've learned a lot and met a lot of people, I have some connections, I guess. Hopefully that will, maybe this will become some kind of a retirement career or something like that, or something where I can leave my day job a couple years early, that kind of a thing. So it's like I guess it's like an expensive hobby for now that hopefully will reap the benefits later because I invested in myself now.
You just gotta stop sending coffee mugs to people who didn't even read the second book.
Yeah, I know. Bastard. I want to return it. He probably put it in the dishwasher too.
Oh, he's probably drinking out of it right now.
You're talking about
so
you, Tyler, dick.
He didn't get a mug. I didn't know him then.
So what I
Be
want to do
waiting
next
for it
is I want to take us through some individual aspects, starting with editing, and say whatever you want to share. Mike, you said you rolled down the hill, you learned some things. What pros, cons, things you've learned, things you've tried that did work, things you tried that didn't work. So Tyler, I'm actually going to throw it back to you first. You have a manuscript in your hand. You realize that you're not gonna send it to Simon and Schuster or anything. You're gonna have to figure out how to get this thing edited yourself. So take us through that process.
Oh boy. I'm lucky enough to know a couple people here in Portland who used to work as editors in the comics industry. So they have a pretty solid understanding of storytelling. Great prose writers as well, but they just happen to work as editors in comics. So I had the benefit of being able to pass along the manuscript to them and get that feedback. I know that there are some who have sought out editors. So I got feedback from these friends, and then I went through the manuscript again, and I thought, yeah, it's pretty good. With Criterion in particular, so the first novella that I put out last August, I went through the manuscript, got it edited, had it proofread, and thought, okay, I'm going to put this up on Amazon. And the moment that I started to think of actually sending the manuscript to Scott Cole, who does the interior design for all my stuff, great writer as well, I had this just absolute moment of panic when I got it back, because I sent it to him in a Word document, and that's the only format I'd ever seen it in. And it came back as this formatted thing that looks like a book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually going to be like on paper between covers. Is it good enough? Did I go through it enough? Oh man. And then these sentences started leaping out at me like, did I actually write that? That came through my head, and I typed that out and I thought it was good. And I'm about to put this, and I sent it to Scott, like, So I had this moment of panic that I visualized the thing existing in the world and everyone seeing what I couldn't see, which was that it was awful and terrible. And it was full of flaws that I was too blind to see because I didn't have any pressure. There's no agent looking over it. There's no professional editor to publisher. There's no professional proofreaders. You're just doing this all on your own. And so again, back to the music thing, it reminded me of hearing a demo and thinking that the demo is really good. And in the music industry, producers actually have this thing called demoitis, where you can listen to a demo so many times that you think that's how the song should sound. And you're resistant to when someone outside the band, like say a producer, tries to make it better, because you're attached to this inferior version and you can't even see what it could become. And so I had this fear that I had a form of demoitis in a way, that I had only seen this thing and thought the demo was good, but when I actually considered it being out in the world as a book that people would read, that they were going to see what I couldn't. What was the question again? I got like way off track.
The question was the editing process, how much or how little you want to say about it.
It was about editing, like your editor, but
yeah.
Just to comment on what you were saying, like I didn't get the demoitis till like after 3 books. It just hit me at a different time. I was just cocky about the first 3 books, and then you get a couple negative reviews, and then start a new story or something, and then it was just, I don't know, I got exactly what you felt, just later at a later stage. So I don't know, just interesting. And I don't want to cut anybody off here, but my experience with an editor was there's a website called readsy.com, and I was doing everything through that. Didn't know anything about Twitter, didn't know anything about, Fiverr or Upwork or anything like that. And I started looking for editors, and I see that some of them want 2 cents a word, blah, blah, blah. At the time, my first book was like 108,000 words, and it shouldn't have been. And I'm thinking, I don't have that kind of money to blow on an editor that I don't even know, like what am I buying? It's like, you don't know what the quality of this person's work is. They could just be throwing a number up there and getting it. So I found another editor, kind of like look for an affordable one, ended up paying about $900, and we didn't cut anything out of the story. And I never had an editor again after that. Through the first 3 books, I'm still constantly tweaking what I do. But I do hope to have an editor in the future, like by going through, the traditional way of publishing.
Sonora, I want to throw it to you because you've got a little bit of a different experience. You have a very long-standing relationship with an editor.
I do, and I was lucky in that Evelyn, my editor, we were friends before she became my editor. We actually met through at the time her girlfriend, now her wife, went to school with me in my same graduate program. And, I met her when the 4 of us went to a Renaissance fair together, and, the 4 of us would hang out, the 4 of us being them and my now husband. And the first time, though, the reason I mentioned that is because the first time Evelyn and I hung out alone, we both wanted to see Elton John, but neither of our spouses were interested because they don't have taste. So at least when it comes to music, when it comes to spouses, obviously they have amazing taste. So we were hanging out. The show was downtown, and we were hanging out at a now closed bar called Bar Louie. We started talking about our jobs, and I found out that she did freelance editing. And I'm thinking like maybe a year or 2 after that, I started writing more seriously, and I was thinking to myself, well, I'd like to do something with this other than write it. I want to put it out there. So what should I do? And so the 4 of us were having dinner, and I asked Evelyn what she thought, and because I knew she had experience in the publishing industry as well as with her freelance editing, and she actually recommended self-publishing to me. It's just that she thought it would work well, and I asked her if she'd be willing to, like, if I could hire her to edit my work. Obviously we work together as a editor, author, it's not just 2 buddies reading each other's work, but she has done like an amazing job editing my work. She not only goes through and does line edits, but she will make structural recommendations as well, usually in a memo that she sends. That kind of just goes through her thoughts on the work and gives advice and ideas. And it's always just been very helpful. So yes, when I'm self-publishing a project, I always talk to her first. And thus far, for self-publishing, no one else has edited my work. Obviously, I've had different editors when I've submitted short stories to anthologies or that are published through independent publishers.
It sounds like a painstaking is probably not the right word, but an arduous process. Do you feel good when your books go to print, like you unturned every stone and like you're putting your best stuff out there?
I mean, it's definitely been better with each book, getting a little less nervous each time, but I'm always going to be kind of nervous, wondering, well, what will people think of this, but I do feel a little better when, than if I were just putting it out there without someone looking at it first, because Evelyn is very honest with me. She's not mean, but she will tell me straight up if something should not be published or if it's just not ready or what needs to change. And so that gives me definitely a little more confidence putting it out there, because she's pretty much always my first reader, with the exception of the most recent collection, because in that one, since Violet did the foreword, she was the first reader. So
that's excellent.
How many
Uh,
times have you been totally, has she told you you shouldn't like publish that? You know,
With, let's see, there were three short story collections, and each one had one story that she said wasn't ready to print.
uh,
So probably three times.
yeah,
Usually with the books, they've just had to be,
tweaked.
edited,
Yeah,
but or like, maybe you should take this out, or maybe you should add something in. But yeah, there's only been, I think, three stories that she was like, Dad, this isn't ready, or she had so many. I mean, and she didn't say it in so many words, but she'll say like needs more time in the oven.
Mm.
So, Nico, obviously your experience is a little different. I don't want to put you on the spot or jump over you. Do you have anything you'd like to throw in here?
I am an editor. I do freelance editing. I judge contests. I feel really confident in my ability to cut out a lot of stuff from stories. I feel like the people I write with can certainly testify that I'm not afraid of like red lines. I will say editors are expensive. I am expensive. My friends in the editing world are expensive. And the only reason we are is because we spend a lot of time on your story. Like a good editor, we love storytelling. We are going to polish that to perfection. So it is expensive. I would never edit my own stuff. Like if I have a short story collection that I can't find a home for, and I was thinking of self-publishing it next year, I will hire an editor to do that. And I will, bite the bullet and pay that price because I do feel like it is really important. But yeah, I have a great time editing. I enjoy it.
I remember when Brennan was telling me your edits, how they were coming in, and for the Shiver anthology. And that was the first time, to my recollection, when an editor seemed to get him as a writer. Because I'm sure we've all experienced it. And no shade on anyone in particular, but there's some editors that I had one that I asked the publisher, I'm like, am I getting edits? And he said, no, it's all groovy. Like I want that. I'm sure you guys want that. How can we get it better? But the first time I ever kind of heard Brennan talk in that light about an editor, it was you, Nico. And I read the book, and it shows that you care.
Well, thank you. I definitely cut all of Brennan's first paragraph, if I recall correctly.
Mm.
Thank you.
By the time you were done slashing it up, I couldn't even keep the title. But no, well, first of all, I'd point out that you were actually the first editor I worked with. I don't think I'd ever had anybody edit my work before.
That makes
and
sense.
It came back dancing in red, but I'll tell you, it was warm. It was cold weather horror, but it was warm, and kind, and I didn't feel dejected or anything like that. I've told you this before. We talked about it when you were on your solo episode. You were a pleasure to work with, and I'd do it again, obviously. So
I would hope that people will find editors that challenge them without crushing their soul. I have had editors crush my spirit to the point where I just shut everything down and cry all night and say I'm done with it. And no editor should make you feel that. That is an editor on a power hungry strike that just shouldn't even be in the industry. So find a good one. There's plenty of us out there.
Yeah, that was what my fear was. I just didn't know who to talk to, and what I was going to get. Like, I didn't know what I was even shopping
You can
for.
get samples. Absolutely ask for a sample. They should do a free sample between like 500 and 1,000 words. And then, absolutely ask. If they won't give you a sample, then maybe they're not the right editor for you either.
Didn't know that either.
Absolutely ask for a sample. Yes.
Okay.
You're here to learn, Mike.
Oh, I'm here. That's why I'm here.
All right.
If I could say
Go
something to what Nico mentioned about editors being expensive but worth it. I wrote a novel called Midas that has not yet been published, and that was one I was sending to agents. And I believed in that book enough to where I did hire an editor, but I met the writer. His name is Joshua Moore. Have any of you guys ever read his work? He's phenomenal. He's a novelist and memoirist, and he's just a really, really gifted storyteller. And he went over the manuscript with me, and what he did is what Nico's describing, where more than just redlining things, but working on the actual story with me, and the emotional beats, and the arc of it, the narrative, more than just, yeah, this sentence doesn't work, that let's move this word here. It's actually working on the whole story itself, the ins and outs of it, all the details of it. And that was a learning process, because I'd never worked with somebody on a manuscript like that. And I not only learned how to better tell a story, but it made me more confident the next time I went to write something. I took all the lessons I learned from him and applied it to the next thing. So it was well worth it in more than one way.
Absolutely. All right. So I mentioned before, I have never self-published anything. I'm very open to it, but I've got a lot to learn. That's part of the reason I made you all come on here to, just inform me so I can do better things. But Patrick has self-published before, and I believe he had some interesting experiences with editing. If you want to get thrown under the bus and share that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't talk about it a lot because I didn't enjoy the experience. It wasn't the editor. He was excellent. I don't know if anyone knows a guy named Todd Larson, but I don't even remember the website I was looking for. I was very new. It was kind of fresh into when my wife and I started dating. A lot of new things were happening. I just realized, like, the year prior, I wanted to be a novelist, and I just joined Twitter. And I don't know if you guys probably know him. Duncan Ralston helped me with this too, but he wasn't the editor. The guy Todd Larson helped. The way I picked him out, again, I don't remember what the websites were, but I reached out. I gave him a 2-page sample, picked a group of editors that seemed interested, and I had a set of questions before I sent him that sample, just to see what they could bring to the table, and if they kind of got what I was going for. And there was this one person that asked me, my very first question was, do you like horror? Because, like, it's a horror book, the story is a novella. And if they didn't, what's the point of working with them, is how I thought the approach should be. And one guy asked me if I enjoy watching people or reading about people suffering. So I didn't talk to that editor again, and eventually found Todd, and it cost me a little under 300 for 20,000 word ish novella. He went through content, the grammatical stuff, but I didn't enjoy the experience because, for me personally, I just kind of want to write it and just be the writer. There's a shitload of work that goes into self-publishing, and I don't want to do that for every book I'm going to work on. The thing that I don't know if you guys felt this way, but when I finished it, I felt really excited. It was on Amazon, Kindle, and I just remember my wife and I went to the liquor store right after it was uploaded, and I was, I don't know, I sound like such an asshole, but I was thinking, these motherfuckers don't know they got a published author around. Just walking through the aisles, like, it's so stupid. There's so many of them. That's embarrassing. Nico is making the perfect face. It is. I just had to put that out there. No one gave a shit. It's like Abeda says, no one gives a shit. You have to make people care about it. But basically, I pulled it 2 years ago because I think it's a rookie attempt at a novella. Unfortunately, Goodreads doesn't give a shit about you pulling it from everywhere else. It's still on there under Patrick McDonough. It's 2014, and it's got potential with the elements involved in it, but it was just, I don't want any of you reading it because I think it's shitty. So that's my experience. I didn't enjoy it overall. That's why I never pursued it. I don't know what else to add to that. Brendan, you had a question, and I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry you
that's
had
fine.
a question, Brennan.
Yeah, no, that's his default, is apologizing to me. So let's talk about cover stuff.
Sure.
We've said it about 8 bazillion times on this show that you can say don't judge a book by its cover, but we're gonna. So you better have a good one on there. So Sonora, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about cover design across your span of 7.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I've worked with the same cover artist, and Evelyn, one of her first pieces of advice Evelyn gave to me when I mentioned I wanted to maybe publish the short stories, she said, hire a good cover artist. You have to have a good cover. You cannot just like slap something together and do it yourself. And if you've ever seen my attempts at Photoshop, even to this day, you can see why it's not a good idea for me to put something together. So I used to actually work in the same cubicle as Doug Puller. We worked together in the same office. I was doing email and he was doing graphic design. So I asked him, like, hey, I'm thinking about publishing. Like, do you do freelance cover work? Like, do you think? And he was like, yeah, I think we could work something out. So we talked about like pricing and the work that would be involved. And I'll be honest, when I thought he was going to design a cover for The Crow's Gift, I thought maybe he was going to take like a stock photo of some birds flying over a field and like put the title over it. But he got back to me with a sketch, like fully illustrated cover that is on there now. I mean, I can't, pull it up like right here. And unfortunately, the book is too far away from me. I should have brought it. But it's just this beautiful cover where there's like a crow on a tree over the field. And he like made it so that the tree branches spelled out the name of the title. I'm thinking, oh man, like I got a really nice cover here. And so as such, I asked him to do the cover for my next novel. I asked for and like I mentioned, he's done all the covers for my work since then. The only exception is that for when I released a standalone short story, "'Tis Better to Want," Cassie Daly illustrated that for me. And yeah, I've mostly gone with illustrated book covers. I do think that they look very nice. I love seeing like the unique artwork involved, and I love seeing what Doug does. Like when I send him the manuscript and send him ideas for like how to put together the cover, just what he comes up with, what he draws, us working back and forth together. I will say for anyone listening and thinking about getting into it, that if you hire an illustrator, that will probably cost more than someone doing a graphic design cover. I mean, I can't pretend to know all the costs involved in that, but if you're hiring an illustrator, just know and respect that you're asking them to completely do it by hand. And so, expect to pay for that. But the advantage of that is you have a cover that's unique to you and looks really beautiful and is very eye-catching, assuming you have hired someone who does great illustration work. And I would hope that you looked at their portfolios before you before you paid them. So
One would think.
yeah.
Tyler, same question. And actually, one thing I'd love to have you touch on, maybe I'm mistaken here, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you recently reissued expanded editions, did you have different, even if it was just back cover artwork for the hardcovers versus the paperbacks?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
I
so
did
take us through all that.
all of it.
All of
Okay.
it, front to back.
Well, like Sonora is saying, I think covers are incredibly important. Especially nowadays, because you got people looking on their phones on Amazon, so you've got these just shrunken little images, and I think it's important to have something that stands out, something that you're proud of. The Patrick, with what you were talking about, putting out a book back in 2014, I think that is one of the dangers of self-publishing, is that you can put things out and you can put together a cover on your own, and you can just
I paid for it.
and have it out there. Oh,
And I did the font though, so
right on.
it's not very good. It looks photoshopped, as Sonora would say.
Someone
think I
needs
use
to put
paint.
together like a coffee table book of the worst self-published book covers.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
I still
we've
remember
all-
the
we've
one I
all seen that.
saw. I still remember the one I saw like on the ads that Kindle pulls up, and it was like Comic Sans font on the title and like images all over. But I tell you, for some reason, this had like thousands of reviews, but that is an exception, not the rule. in my opinion.
Yeah, and Tyler, just to piggyback real quick off of the time period too, 2014. I mean, it's not even 10 years after I first did that, but it was still different. It was social media was different. Everything wasn't, think about it. Back in 2014, we had cell phones, but it wasn't like it is now. I mean,
Yeah.
I think YouTube didn't even have ads at that point. It wasn't all about it seemed more fun back then. Maybe I'm romanticizing it. I really can't remember in depth how it was back then, but it seems like everything's just so fast paced nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. Brennan, I'm going to address your question. I'm just going to grab something here real quick.
You're probably, Patrick, romanticizing MySpace and the drama of deciding who was in your top 8.
It's tough.
So, Brennan, in answer to your question, so this is the original cover of Criterion. And that was, like Sonora, something I sketched out and sent to the artist, David Mack, and he did a phenomenal job. And then when I had the opportunity to re-release the books with new novella and to do them in hardcover, I thought, I'm a book nerd. I love covers. I love spines. I love the layout. I just think they're beautiful objects in addition to the work that's inside. So I thought it'd be cool to do something slightly different for the hardcover editions. So I just took the original image and flipped it on its side, like zoomed in. So
I love the alt stuff. That's so cool.
Thank you. And I did that for all of them, just some variation. Like this is the original. This cover I actually did on my own, and you can kind of tell because it's really simple. And that was a financial decision because I released this 2 months after I released Criterion. And so I had just broke the bank already on Criterion, but I wanted to put this out. So I thought, well, I'll just do something really, really simple. And then for the hardcover, I just inverted the colors just to make it cool. But yeah, the covers, man, I think the covers are just, and I'm with Sonora. I like the illustrations. I think they can be bold and, like she mentioned, unique. You're not going to end up with stock images that are on your book that are also on someone else's book. Like for Almost Ruth, I had Gemma Moore paint the cover. She did just a phenomenal job. And I was really specific about the colors. I don't know why, but I just kept seeing pinks and purples. I just thought it would pop. And thankfully my wife was kind enough to be the cover models.
It's a cool cover, man. She's a good artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Hell
then
of a self-published author too. Unfortunately, It's 3 a.m. in where she is, so she couldn't join us.
Well,
yeah.
She's also was it with Angry Robots, which I don't know where they fall under. Honestly, I don't know the difference between some indies and some traditionals. Some indies seem massive, but it's a big publisher that she just got hooked up with.
Yeah, but she knows her stuff about self-publishing inside and out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And then the last one for the other new book, Enter Softly, I had a guy named Ryan Mills do the cover for this. And he just did such a phenomenal job on the back cover that I just decided to do it without text, even on the paperback, which is what's really cool. Another cool aspect about self-publishing is if you pick up any paperback at a bookstore, you're going to see a bunch of text on the back. And when I saw his art, I was originally intending to put text. I just thought, you know what? I don't want to. And I don't have to because I'm putting it out myself. I can just let the art stand. Like everybody's reading the description on Amazon anyway. if that's where you're purchasing it. So does it have to be on the back? Right or wrong, that's a decision that we can make when we're putting it out ourselves. We can make artistic decisions that feel right and maybe is not the industry standard, but I felt strongly about that decision. And once I got the books in hand, it just seemed so right. So that's another really cool aspect that I love about self-publishing, is that freedom to do things. If it fails, it's all on you, but you have the freedom to do it.
The complete and utter creative control, for better or worse.
Exactly.
So Nico, with Shiver, I think you had that. I think the cover was it Rooster Republic that did it?
It was.
So what was your process for getting one on there?
Well, I can not visualize my work into a single image. That is not something I excel at. And so cover art, I knew coming into it was going to be an issue for me. I didn't even know what to say to them. So I literally wrote an email and I was like, look, this is how much money I want to spend. I want it to be something cold and spooky. And he was like, I gotcha. He did a draft. It was that draft. It's the exact cover art. I was like, you nailed it. Beautiful. Perfect. And that's how it came to be. And I don't know if you felt this, Sonora, but I gave you a lot of leeway with like how we came up with a cover for ours as well. I think I even told you, like, this is not where I shine. Coming up with cover art is not.
I think I remember asking, like, do you want color scheme, or like, what are you thinking? And then I was just like, okay, well, I figure if she really doesn't like something, she'll let us know in the sketch period. Like,
yeah,
so.
I have no original thoughts to purchase in that. I was like, give it to an artist, they know what to do. And that's how it came to be, Brennan.
Was that Don Noble for Shiver?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that he loved working with me because I literally gave him 3 words to work with. I mean, what artist wouldn't want as little direction as possible for as little amount of pay possible to make a cover art? So I really think I'm like the key customer for cover artists out there.
That is well said. I love. I don't know what to say. I just want to say I love Don.
I love it. I love their work. I found it because I was looking at book covers that I loved, and like 90% of them are from them. So I was like, yeah, I definitely want to do something with you. So yeah, they're great. They were great.
Nicholas Day does them too. I don't know if anyone else that works with them does it, but I thought it was mainly Don.
Well, he was fantastic and patient and like a little artistic angel for me. He was great. I loved him. I would work with him again. I don't know if he'd work with me again, but I would work with him again in a heartbeat.
Mike, I'm going to jump to you, buddy. You and I talked a few weeks ago about for this episode, about it's not Excel spreadsheet, but I guess, a spreadsheet for your finances that has to do with your trilogy. Do you mind telling us about that?
Yeah, it's embarrassing, to be honest with you.
That's what he said to me the first time.
Yeah, no, like I made this. I have a job where I don't make a certain amount. I work on commission. I have different seasons. It's very hard to like budget what goes in, what goes out. So at the end of the first 11 months of self-publishing, I had to figure out where all the money went. Basically, I'm not a rich man, middle class. I was lucky enough that both of my kids, one of them went into the Army. I didn't have to pay for expensive college for that. And my daughter went into dental to be a dental assistant. But anyway, I made this sheet just to try to figure out where everything was going and what was good and what was bad. And the only reason I'm sharing this first 11 months with you is it's like a cautionary tale in many ways. I think that's probably my purpose here, is just to tell you like what to be careful of. I know I don't have to tell you folks because you've already been there, but if anybody watching this, there's basically at the end of this first 11 months, I spent almost $17,000. And
oh my gosh. Are you okay? Like
that's why I tell you.
Oh my gosh, where did the money go, Mike?
Well, you know,
Are you
every
okay?
single dollar.
You need a GoFundMe? Are you okay?
I'll do it. Sure. No.
I don't think
No,
she's
like
gonna run it for
every
you,
single
man.
dollar that I spend on this is something that I would write off for taxes. So like if I built a website for $2,000, you know, that's part of it. If I subscribe to the Nightworms book package, or any book I buy at a
Oh, yeah.
convention or whatever. But I didn't go to a convention this year. You know, this is all. I'll tell you some of the big screw ups was like, they tell you there's a book, there's a group on Facebook called 20 books to 50K. I don't know if you heard of that. And I went into that, and I'm listening to all these self-published authors about basically you got to write, crank out the books, get it out there, and then advertise on Amazon with keywords and all this stuff. So I got talking to this one guy, and this guy writes a lot more than I do, like way more words. I even saw him on I don't know if you heard of Mark Dawson. He does like a self-publishing course and everything. Well, he was on his show, but his name's James Rosone. And he's like, what you do is you go to the top 100 of your category, and you write down all the titles of those books. And then you write down all of the authors' names. And those are all keywords, and you enter them all in there. So I'm mining keywords like you wouldn't believe. I got like 3,000 keywords and nobody knows who I am. You know, I have 3 books right now, but at this time I have like 1, and too early to advertise basically. But I got 3,000 keywords all pointing to my book, and people are clicking, but they're not buying. So it starts off slow, and like May, $7.55, June, $326,
What?
July, $328. Okay, then I skipped to September, $593, October, 5. I'm shutting down keywords like you wouldn't believe. Like, oh my God, this guy, you know, 57 clicks and 0 sales, he's out, you know, that kind of thing. So that was $3,000 right there. Just like stupid stuff. And I know people, and I've heard of people, and I think Chad Lutsky is one, and Jason Brandt too, that they do this, and they learned it from friends, you know. Like I think you really need your handheld to do these Amazon keywords. I think Sonora has some friends too that knows how to do this, but it's a science. And Chad was saying that you really got to stay on top of it. It's like a chore, it's a job. So that was one of them. Anytime I buy author copies or mail books to somebody, you know, your first time out there, postage is a B, and you know, Amazon doesn't sell them to you for cheap. I paid $600 to a consultant off of that Reedsy website that used to be in the publishing industry. Just, you know, I just didn't know anything. So there's a lot of stuff in here. The $900 on the editing, which, you know, just I didn't know who it was. I still don't know who they were really. I mean, I know the name and everything, but I don't know what it did. I did a bunch of Goodreads giveaways, and they cost $119 a piece. $300 for ISBN numbers. I could go down the list, but I don't know if this is boring or not. But if you want to ask me specific questions about it,
Did you buy those packages from like Publishers Weekly, or like you buy like $700 like, and they put your book on NetGalley, you know, those type of packages?
Not quite, but there was something I did where I paid $400 for them to review it, and then it came back okay. And it was just, I don't think, you know, I got one review on Amazon from them, and you know, it wasn't quite what's the Kirkus reviews, or it wasn't like that, but it was still was $400, you know.
Yeah.
I bought a course from, it's called Your First 10,000 Readers, which was $59 a month for, you know, a year. Postage is a killer. I bought these 72 mugs that this was one of the positive parts. Like, I think that if you're going to promote your book, and I would do this again, like maybe not mugs, but find something that you like, that like my sister bought me this Batman mug for Christmas one year, and it's huge. And I don't know what you have for mugs in your house, but the typical one is like an 11-ounce mug, and you fill it with coffee, and then there's no room for milk, that kind of thing. So I fell in love with this Batman mug, and I'm like, what wouldn't be cooler than giving away this mug or get attention than give a mug away. And it's gigantic, and they're going to use it every day. It's not a shot glass, something like that. You're not drinking on Monday morning. And I got a lot of attention out of this mug. It was 72 mugs for like $400, and it was about $10 a piece to mail them out. But
Yep.
I think that was worth it. What I would do going forward though is, and what I've been doing is, this t-shirt here is a Jockey brand, like moisture wicking t-shirt. I don't wear cotton ones anymore. So what I do now is I wait for like Jockey to have a 30% off sale, and I buy a ton of shirts. And when my next book comes out, I'm gonna silk screen those babies with the cover on it and mail them to the people that are gonna reviewing them to review them. So these are like products that I really like. I like a big mug. I like this t-shirt. It made me stop wearing cotton ones. And if you're looking for a gimmick to get attention, find something that you like, and find a way for it not to break the bank. I have a Discover card. I get cash back. I buy shirts with it, that kind of thing. So just little odds and ends. Any more questions about this spreadsheet? Like, do you want to know more about that? Or
I'm
is
just
it
thinking
boring?
they don't call you the king of swag for nothing.
Well, I
And
always
let's not
liked,
forget the little flies that come in the package as well with the books.
oh yeah. I going back to like swag and the book covers and the package itself that you mail out. I always loved designing the cover and the title and putting together a nice package that is in the end, it's a piece of art. It's like when you go to the Apple store and you buy an iPhone, they give you this bag with a rope that ties it closed and everything, and then you open up the iPhone and it's just packed perfectly, and the box is like better than it should be. I just like that kind of touch to
Yeah.
things.
That makes me think of Clash books. I know audio listeners, you can't see it. It's it's nothing crazy. They send you, at least the two books I got from them, a bookmark. This is Clash, and then it's nice wrapping with a sticker with the publisher's name on it.
Exactly. It's a personal touch.
Well,
Yeah.
plus it's like cross marketing. Like if you send that to someone who does book reviews on Instagram, TikTok, they'll do like an unveiling, and then your book gets a little marketing boost as well. Because that's something, even if you're not self-published, just as a writer, you want to find ways to market your book as inexpensively as possible so everybody benefits from. So you can team up with other artists, whether they do bookmarks or whether they do journals and stuff like that, and do cross promotions and things like that. So there's ways to do it, to work with people, to get out really nice packages to people who can help promote your book, and everyone benefits.
This isn't specifically for self-publishing. And Tyler, if you want to say pass, understood. But I'm wondering, even guys in Chuck Palahniuk's position, does he have to do any promotional stuff for his upcoming books? Is that something that helps benefit him? Because once you reach a certain point in your writing career, part of me wonders if you need to put much effort in. And that sounds silly to say out loud, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. I can share a little bit of what he's told me, but with what Mike started and what Nico's talking about as well. It kind of gets us into the uncomfortable aspect of self-publishing, doesn't it? The thing that we're not very good at typically. We can write a book, we can put it out there. The promotion part of it is really tricky, I think, and who knows how to do it perfectly well. I don't know.
There's no way to measure results for whatever you do. They just
yeah, exactly. And to Patrick's question, the expectation is still there, I think, now more than ever. So one thing that Chuck has told me that it frustrates him is that in this day and age, that the author is expected to do a lot of promotion. They're expected to book podcasts, to get interviews, and he just wants to write. And that's the way it was for a long time when he first published Fight Club. And so it really it's shifted. So you have someone like him who was used to this old way of doing things, where you had a marketing department, you had PR people, and you went on the interviews they told you to go on, you went on the shows they told you to go on, that kind of thing. You were told where to go and steered in those directions. And now all that expectation is falling on him and others as well. So it doesn't go away, it appears. I mean, from what I can tell, my vantage point, even as you get more successful, even if you're traditionally published, you still have to do a lot of that legwork on your own, it seems.
Yeah, because like Stephen King, he's in the rarest of camps, but I mean, even he's on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with that. He truly loves writing and talking of the craft. But you got guys like let's see, Clive Barker and Robert McCammon jump to mind right away. They don't run any of their own social media. Even though Clive's kind of coming back, Robert McCammon is still putting out new books and don't see him in anything. And part of me wonders, even though he's come out with some of the biggest books in the horror field in the 80s and 90s, would he be more recognizable to the general public? Would he have more film adaptations or options if he was more active or at all? So yeah, I mean, it's not self-publishing, but it's stuff that I think about, and I'm sure others do too. So
how many people though are in this Twitter horror community though? Like I don't think it's that many. Like, look at the followers of the leaders of this community. Like, let's say Paul Tremblay. I think it's like he's got like 20,000 followers or something like that. Some of those people have got to be movie people because he's, got deals in the works and that kind of a thing. I'm not sure how many Josh Mellerman has. I don't know. Sadie Hartman has about 10,000 or maybe more now.
No, she's almost at 20, man. It's crazy.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who has the most in this community? It's about 20, I think, or maybe say 30.
Well, Gisha Grice has 50,000, but he's also Gisha Grice. He is a Canadian First Tribes. I apologize if I'm butchering that, but I'm not even gonna say his tribe name because I can't remember it off my head. Yeah. But he's Canadian, was a journalist, well-liked journalist for his area. So maybe that has something to do with it. But
my point is, though, like, we're not going to get rich off of being the star of the horror community, kind of a thing. Yeah. Like, we need to think outside the box. We need to like somehow hit the mainstream outside of the horror community, cross over into something else. Just, trying to be the big fish in a small pond is not going to pay the bills. I don't think, really. It's not going to make you rich. If that's what you want. I know we all write because we like to write and love what we do. But if we're talking about, the old ways and Chuck Palahniuk and all that stuff and going on, the TV shows and all that stuff, I don't know. People don't read as much anymore. They're on their phones. And I don't know. I just think we have to think outside the box to get outside this little 20, 30,000 horror community group to hit it big.
Agree. Yeah. I like the challenge, though. I know a lot of self-publishers don't like doing marketing. A lot of indie writers don't like marketing, but I love marketing. I think it's so much fun to get out there and connect with people. And it's just a fun challenge to see like how you can present yourself to people to get them to connect with them. Because that's what we're doing. We're storytellers. We're connecting with people. And most of our books have a universal truth. I mean, that's what makes a story. So whether I'm writing about a croissant chasing a teenager down the hallway in my book, Food Fright, that's my nice plug
Great
there.
fucking book, by the way. Great book.
But there's a universal truth of like trying to fit in as the underdog, so like I do think we have the potential as self-published and indie authors to cross over those bridges, but it is hard. Like, don't make any illusion, it is hard. But I really enjoy the challenge. I think all of us have it in us to jump that bridge and figure it out.
Yeah,
So,
me too. That's why I'm still doing it. Like I want to figure that part out as much as I want to write a good book. That
well, look,
kind of.
Chuck Palahniuk in one of his latest promotions was giving away severed arms, like for the first 100 people who I
what you gotta do.
was so close to getting a severed arm, I tell you.
That's the king of
With
swag
his-
right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
But can you imagine how much that would cost to ship for someone like us, to ship a severed arm? But so just thinking how can we connect this? What can be fun? And then
Oh,
less about the horror and more about what's your book about? It's about love. It's about betrayal. It's about, and that's, something as self-published writers, I hope we can all tap into so we can sell our premises. And then, the guts and gore kind of come second.
Speaking of gore,
Ah.
Not an arm. Oh, it's I can almost touch it. I can almost touch it. Oh, we're gonna be best friends, Tyler. Hi, we're gonna be best friends.
audio listeners,
I'm gonna
Tyler's holding up a severed hand.
I'm going to be using this throughout the interview now.
Yeah, I think it's real.
Wave goodbye with it.
So did he? I know you know him in person, but and for those that don't know, that's the reason why I asked Tyler. He was a student of Chuck, still is, but he's friends with him too. Which, by the way, for those that don't know, he's the one that graciously introduced us to Chuck. Have to forever give you credit, sir. But back to the hand thing. I have one question, and then Brennan, please take over, or whoever take over. Did he mail those out to people not in local area?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it was a giveaway. So anybody, Tyler, excuse me, sorry. You may know
No.
Chuck, but I am his number one fan. So if you'll just, thank you. There was a giveaway. And it was nationwide. So anybody could have gotten a severed arm.
I'm just wondering, if when you're through the post office, I know that they scan everything. So I'm just wondering, the person that saw that, an X-ray or whatever, I want to know what they were thinking.
Tell you what, Tyler, you send me your autographed severed arm through the post office, and I'll come back on. I'll let you all know how it went, if I got called in or anything. And just to be safe, I'll keep it, and that way we won't have to go through the ordeal again, and it'll be fine.
Okay. You have to send me an autographed copy of Food Fright, though.
Oh yeah, those are totally equal equivalents.
That should be a movie. It'd be funny.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, this is the Chuck fan
Real
club
quick,
now.
Nico,
I've
when's the
taken
sequel
over.
coming out?
Oh my gosh, that would be a lot of fun to write a sequel. Maybe one day. I want to make it into a screenplay, actually. So one day that will be a screenplay, and we'll see what happens. Probably nothing, but it will still be fun to make.
I'd love to see that. So speaking of,
Nico, I love your optimism about the marketing thing. I love your energy for that. That's really cool.
Thanks.
For me, it's a struggle for me because I'm not sure. I have this fear of, I'm sure a lot of people do, of you don't want to be annoying. And
I
you
don't have
know
that
the right
problem.
way-
No.
You don't.
Sorry. No, but I get it. I get it.
But
No,
I
it's
love that
reminding
optimism,
though,
but it's a
Tyler.
challenge, you know?
It's just reminding. That's all. And if what are you doing? You're just saying, hey, here's my book. That I don't. You just got to keep asking. You really
Just don't
do.
pop up into DMs, just, little
Yeah.
things. Just don't I think we all know the do's and don'ts at this stage in our careers, And
Yeah.
I don't think it's so bad just to pop into Twitter and be like, hey, if anybody's looking for cold horror and it's chilly outside, this is it. How about this?
It's social media, man. Just
You'll get a couple of retweets. Somebody will retweet it. Usually,
Yeah.
Mike will retweet.
I will.
I'll retweet it. Tyler, you write a tweet. And my 2 people who follow will see it.
I think there's some sort of I don't remember where I heard this, but if you want to reach people, you've got to post, something upwards of 7 times within a given time period. So, given the algorithms and math and all that stuff I'm not good at, but you might feel like you're annoying people, but there's a fair chance that the majority of people that follow you or whatever, if you repost something 5 times, they might only see it once or twice anyway. So,
Mm.
Or not at all.
Otherwise, or not at all.
Yeah.
So annoy away. Mike, I do have one follow-up to the spreadsheet thing. As far as some of the packages and services and whatnot that you tried out, and you couldn't, maybe you're going off gut instinct on this one, but I wonder if you could talk to 2019 Mike, would you do more research into them, or do you feel like there are some things like that out there that are just predatory, looking to just take money from people looking to get their books on Amazon?
I don't know. I don't have like a super terrible regret, I guess. I mean, other than the number, but for instance, the your first 10,000 readers subscription, which ended up being about, for these 11 months, $472, but I think it was like $700 by the time it was all over. They taught me how to set up my website, how to do giveaways and buy this King Sumo giveaway, what's it called, a plug-in. And now I can do a giveaway whenever I want. And Tyler and I did one together. Not sure how great they do. Those were a lot of the money I spent too. I think I got a lot of attention, but I don't think, like, they'd cost me, say, like $275 a whack to advertise on Facebook about it. And I don't know. You guys know who I am, so I kind of feel like mission accomplished in that way. But it came at a price. That's the problem. So 2019, Mike, I wish I would just show him this page and I'd say, don't do that line and don't do that line and whatever. But I mean, like, Goodreads giveaways. I mean, I have a lot of reviews for The Patience of a Dead Man. It's like 191 on Amazon. It's more on Goodreads. I did some, what do they call it? Blog tours, like anything to get reviews and stuff like that. And then you got to understand, you got to give yourself a break that you're learning, like you're learning the do's and the don'ts, like anything. And it didn't bankrupt me. I just looked at my savings account and I was like, oh shit, like, what the hell did I do? And it is what it is. I was into it. I tend to get obsessed on things. Like, I used to try to play guitar. I don't know if you can see that amplifier over here. I haven't turned it on in years, but I would like buy this guitar and then, oh, this one's no good, and sell it on eBay and buy another one. And I don't even know how much I slowly lost over time, but I was just into it. And that was my pleasure. That was what I spent my money on. And now it's writing and getting the book out there. And I've definitely calmed down because I only have 3 books out. They are only one story. And now it's kind of like a regrouping time. And I'm kind of like, okay, calm down. The waters are calming and let's start over smarter, that kind of a thing. So you pay for what you learn.
I got a question about your the trilogy. So you came out with an omnibus a year after the 3 were released, and then you just came out with a hardcover edition. Any regrets, any positive takeaways for kind of doing it in a short amount of time?
Well, I can't tell you how many times I've gone back into Amazon and uploaded a new manuscript, and like the one that you have is probably different than the one that is current today, and the one that's in this hardcover is different right now. If you bought the omnibus edition, like, I didn't want to pay to have that reformatted, so that's still the old version of the first book. So these are all things that I wouldn't advertise and promote, but since you asked, it's a constant process of learning, faking it till you make it kind of a thing, improving on it. I felt like I needed to sit down and give this another shot because it was my first book, and give it the 4-year writer touch to it. And I think I cut a lot of words out. I mean, and I didn't cut any scenes. So it's just an ongoing learning process, and I don't really regret any of it, except that, you need to learn how to fix your mistakes.
Nice.
Wonder, and I don't want to put like Sonora Tyler on the spot. I just don't have as much, self-publishing experience, but like I kind of wonder financially if you can get as successful doing like just focusing on social media, don't paying for ads, but just, cross promotions with, top influencers. If you could do everything and get like a part-time salary for writing without spending a ton of money. I mean, I think that's what most people want to know. And I I think Shiver did well. And I had a very small, teeny tiny budget for marketing because I knew I didn't want to spend a lot. And I really focused on ways to like work with people and get the word out without spending a lot of money. And I just wonder, like, can it be done? Can you make a living off of being a self-publisher? Do you have to spend a lot of money on marketing? I mean, I know you learned a lot, and 17,000 is a lot, but you wouldn't spend that much now. But like, is it even possible?
I couldn't do. I don't think I could be, do that for a living now. But I do know that there are people that do. That some of the people in this horror community that do. I think Jason Brandt does it. He doesn't. Yeah, that's all he does is write. He's the Final Guys, the guy that does the Final Guys podcast. I don't know. There aren't too many that aren't working. Even Paul Tremblay's still teaching, right? Like we're all.
And you could be doing it for fun too. Like you don't have to give up your day job to write. You could still do it just for fun. I'm just curious. Like I know a lot of people that come to me and ask about self-publishing are always like, can you make a living off of it? And I mean, I don't have enough experience to say one way or the other. I know that you can't make a living off of indie publishing. I have experience with that for 10 years. But
you know what I heard? I heard Brian Keene, and it might have been on this podcast. I don't know. But he said he makes about 60, 70 grand a year.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
I would take that.
Yeah. I mean, he has a huge catalog of books. He lives in rural Pennsylvania. He's like that, you can make a living, on that, and he gets to stay home and write. So, I mean, he's got to be one of the leaders of this Twitter community, horror community. So that would use that as a benchmark, I would say.
Did he say it on this one? I can't remember.
I think he did. Yeah.
I listened to his show so often at that period where I don't know. Okay.
Sonora or Tyler, do you want to put in on that? Otherwise, I've got a place to take us.
I'll let Sonora go first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the opposite end of Mike in that I don't purchase Amazon ads or keywords or anything like that. I actually try to do as little of the buying as possible because they always, get you with like, because one of the things with that Facebook does, for instance, is the moment you buy like you pay for views, they start hiding your stuff if you don't keep paying. So and I don't know if Amazon does the same thing, but it just kind of puts people in a cycle. And I mean, it's fine if people want to do that, but I try to avoid ones where I'm going to have to continuously pay. I try and focus more on not only promoting myself via social media, and well, I used to write a blog, but I don't do that as much anymore because I find I get more traction just tweeting or being on Instagram, but also reaching out and making personal connections with reviewers, querying, which is in itself like a small job. Like I'll set aside some time to do that. I remember when the first book I offered up to reviewers ahead of its release was Without Condition. And one of the things that was very helpful there is I was in a group with other women authors, and that's where I met Erin Almahiri, and she put in a good word for me with the Ladies of Horror Fiction, and so that kind of helped, me get in touch with them and get my book sent to them, and kind of put my name not at the top of their list or anything. I mean, but it, it's like, here's someone who I hope you'll read her book, and they did, and it was through Lori, who's under Barks Books with the Ladies of Horror Fiction. She has that big list of people who are reviewing, which I like just remember going through that list and querying a bunch of people. Heard
I
back from
did too.
maybe a few. Yeah, no, it's a great resource. And then kind of just taking the slow but steady approach. I mean, I'll be honest, my numbers aren't amazing. Like you would not use my figures to like sell those. I'm self-publishing and I earn $100,000 a year and like 20 million people read my books. It's like, no, that is not the case. But I will say each book has done better than its predecessor. I'm definitely at a place now, and I got there pretty quickly thanks to marketing, where it was more than just people in my immediate network that were purchasing it, which was a nice feeling. Like when I published The Crow's Gift, I think on day one I sold 11 copies, and now at least I have like pre-orders, that come in for stuff. I definitely have books that have sold over 100 copies, not including the free copies given away. So, it's like, I think sometimes, I think with self-publishing and just publishing in general, people have to remember that the blockbuster authors we hear about, like Stephen King, those aren't always the numbers that most authors will see, even if they have like the biggest backing and the biggest, stuff behind it. Like you just think about how many books are put out every year, even in from mainstream publishers and mainstream bookstores. And so that's why ultimately, I just try and take little approaches here and there. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't ever spend any money. I mean, when I ship books out to reviewers, that costs money. Or when I purchase author copies and sell them signed to people, that costs money. I have done a Goodreads giveaway. I usually only do one. I've only done two for each different book. And that's more just a way to kind of the value in that isn't just to get your book out there, but also to put your book on their shelves, even if they don't win a copy. So it kind of spreads your book and visibility. Just in case anyone's listening, that's kind of what the monetary value is there, in addition to getting your book out to people to read for free, is that it puts it on people's shelves on their Goodreads. So but yeah, that's why I think ultimately, like, promote your book, but remember that unless it's something that you feel comfortable investing in repeatedly, it's never going to be a one-time cost. With the things like the ad buys and the keywords, like they're going to want you to keep coming back. So try and focus on the repeated marketing efforts that you're willing to do over and over again.
Yeah, just to touch on that Amazon keywords and stuff, one last thing, like the ads slowly die as the book, as 5 million more books come out and bury yours in obscurity. So like I still have the same ads in place after canceling a bunch of stuff, but I pay like whatever, say $15 a month or something. So people are still clicking, but there's a shelf life to those ads.
Tyler, anything to add?
Yeah, I think that there's a complicated aspect to self-publishing, is that there's no clear way to measure success other than whether or not you feel like you are accomplishing what you set out to accomplish. I think if you were published by a big five, you would probably have an awareness of all the sales numbers of other authors with that publishing house. And so there would be some metric. I don't know. I truly have no idea. All I know is this: I absolutely love writing. I need to do it. There are stories I need to tell. And so for me, it is all about putting out a book that I believe in with all my heart. And I wouldn't put it out otherwise. And I love that feeling, and I want to tell more stories. I get paranoid that I don't have enough time to put out all the stories and books I want to put out. So it's an act of love and joy for me to do this. And so for me, my measure of success, I mean, in terms of like financially, how much money I put into it, the bulk of the money goes into the formatting. And if I get an editor and the cover, like to create this package that if it's on a shelf or I see it on Amazon, I feel proud of it. I feel like that was my book and I love the way it looks and I hope other people like it. So I think that you can drive yourself mad by comparing yourself or your book to what other books have done because everything's so different, you know, like some self-published or indie published books are lightning in a bottle. You know, who knows why they catch fire the way they do and spread. And if you tried to do everything that author did the exact same way, you might not get the same result. So I think having joy in the process, and man, I got a letter from a reader yesterday, just a brief note, and it just warmed my heart. I love that stuff. I love it. Even if it's just a reader here or there, just to know that it's out there, that it means something to someone is awesome. And I feel, I mean, not to sound cheesy, but I feel truly humbled whenever somebody spends time reading my book. I feel enormously grateful. There are so many things that you could read. And you took the time and not only started my book, but you read it and you finished it and then you reached out or you wrote a review. Like, I am thrilled with that. So I'm learning to measure what I perceive to be success by that. Like, have the people who read what I put out enjoyed it? It seems so, as best as I can tell. And that's awesome. Maybe that's sort of an inarticulate way of saying that's like, it seems to be the only way that I can truly measure that in any way that's meaningful.
You're young enough too, where you could come out, you could have easily be like the next Josh Mallerman or something like that, where you could have 20 books, 30 books by the time you're 50 or something like that. And then have a catalog and one of them hits and then boom, they all, sales go up.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point. Is I tend to think too of like the books I'm putting out now as building something. I don't. I also don't expect any measure of success that I haven't earned yet. You know, I'm new. I just started publishing last year. Like, I don't have this expectation that I should be something that I'm not right now. I think of it as every single book is building something, and that's exciting to me. I like that idea. Like, I mean, next year I'm going to have more books out and it's building more. And it's, if you like one, maybe you'll like the other. Hopefully.
I think it's very apt too that you didn't mention, Netflix and Disney Plus, but the fact that anybody's picking up our books and reading them is that it is humbling. There is so much to do right now. Everybody is so busy, and that a reader chooses to spend time with your book, that they choose to start it and finish it, for take enjoyment out of the picture.
How awesome is
it's a
that?
good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe because I'm such a book guy, like I do have a narrow focus. I don't watch a ton of movies. So like, I'm so thrilled with books. I love it.
This is a Josh Mallerman tweet from earlier today, and I thought it was awesome. A second feature film based on my stuff started filming a couple days ago. I'm up north to do a reading with the love of my life at Interlaken, and I'm thinking of that me who wrote in a vacuum for 20 years, broke as Baroque, just grateful as can be. So if you love writing and you got 20 years and who knows what you're going to come out with, and you could be that, they could be making movies and then you get a bump from all that work.
Sean Cosby is another good example. He talks about it a lot, that he was basically a laborer. Just, I don't know if he was poor, but he wasn't rich. And now his books are winning, you name it, and his books winning the award last year and this year. It's same.
Yeah.
And he's got film adaptations on the way for the first two that came out last year, Black Top Wasteland and Razorblade Tears. So yeah, V Castro. Yeah, Sonora talked about her. She just had two great, really big publishing contracts. I don't know how long she's been at for, but she's been at for a while. It's pretty evident. You just never know.
No, just keep doing what you love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
All right.
take it
Oh, sorry, Tyler. Go ahead.
to take it back to the music thing. I think that we've all fallen in love with an indie band and followed them throughout their career, and sometimes they break big, you know, and we get to say, I loved them back when. I loved them before they were popular. I still love them now, but I loved them then. And then there are some bands that never break big, but we still love them. You know, we love these indie bands that keep doing what they do, keep putting out the records, even though they're never going to get the radio airplay. They're never going to have, you know, be massive sellers, but we still love them because they keep doing what they do. And they keep giving us joy with their art that they obviously create with joy. And I think that there's two ways to look at that. You know, you can shoot big and then be disappointed if it doesn't happen, or you can just think, I'm going to do what I do the best that I can do it, and just be grateful for whatever readers I'm able to share these stories with along the way. And if that means I'm someone's favorite indie band, awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the anthology that Nico and Sonora, you guys will be editing together. So obviously, if you're self-publishing it, you don't have to cater to the whims of, you know, a publisher kind of putting any pressure to bring on certain names, cover art, or anything like that, or even thematic material. So I would love to hear from both of you about your process in the beginnings of putting this thing together, and sell it a little bit for us.
It's the best anthology that has ever been published. It will be published next year. I already know it's going to be number one. Let's start there.
All the awards.
All the awards, all the accolades coming our way. No, I wanted to put out something fat positive. Anybody who follows me on any social media knows I'm 100% a fat positive person, and I am 100% body positive. I'm 100% fat liberation. Everyone deserves respect and love and equality. And I'm a fat, beautiful woman in this world. And I want other fat people to feel as beautiful and self-confident as I am. And so I'm so tired of fat representation or lack of representation in all media and in literature, and how they are portrayed comedically, or how they are instantly killed off, or how it's just like the fat character is pushed off to the side and has no role. There's just not a lot of positive, and there's not a lot of positive fat representation in horror. And just like with Shiver, I had an idea. I wanted to see it. I couldn't find a lot out. And I was like, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it alone. I did it alone the first time. And I want a partner. And I knew Sonora shared in my views on being body positive. And I love Sonora's writing, and she's fabulous. And so I approached her, and I was very grateful that she has come along for this journey. And so we are partners, and it's going to be amazing. And I hope everybody loves it. And I hope people are open to it, if nothing else.
And I also, when is this episode going to be airing?
The 26th, 2 Mondays from now.
November 26th. Okay, so those listening, we are accepting submission to Diet Riot, a Fatter Punk anthology through December 31st. So get those stories in, because we want to read them.
Yes.
And yeah, I was also, and I was excited when Nico approached me with that, because I've spoken a lot on Twitter, not just about fat positivity and being comfortable in our skins, but especially in horror, just how I will read books that were written this year and they'll still use fatness as an equivalent to say someone's disgusting or sad. And I'm really tired of it. It's like find something new. And so when she came to me with this idea, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And so I'm really excited to see what people are going to put together for this anthology. There seemed to be a lot of good response to it when we announced it. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing the fiction people are going to submit to us.
The 29th, just to make sure that I didn't give you the wrong date.
I will
Okay.
say it doesn't have to be all like activism. You can just have a story with a fat character living life and just being fat. Like, I mean, activism is fine too. Everyone knows that I'm very gung ho about this issue. I'm just saying, you know, however you want to interpret it. And then we already have a cover. We already have an amazing cover that we've been advertising all over. And I'm going to be doing editing. Sonora, you're going to be doing it with me. You're very excited, I could tell. And so I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be something new, and I think it's going to open some conversations, some arguments, which are fine too, and it will be great.
Nice. Excellent.
Congrats to you both for taking that on.
Thanks.
You know what, Brennan, why don't you lead us the way, lead us to the wrap-up session, since
Yeah. Well, we're past 11 on the East Coast, which is where most of us are now, and so I'm not going to keep you guys all night. So I want to kind of give one more overlying question. You can tread familiar ground, or if there's something you haven't said yet that you'd like to go down that route. I want to hit each one of you for, what do you think, if there's somebody listening who has gone through an hour and a half of, you know, self-publishing stories at this point, what is the most important thing that you think somebody considering going this route should know? Mike, let's start with you.
I would just say be yourself. Go at your own pace. Don't rush anything. I would also say that, you know, if you need this to be your first job, then it's probably not going to happen for a while. You know, just don't rush it. Be yourself. If you like making the covers, make the cover. If you like coming up with the title, if you like, you know, putting flies in the packages or whatever it is, you know, just find something. Just be yourself and make this thing that you're going to put on your bookshelf totally you, and don't rush it, because, you know, it's not gonna, it won't be, you'll live to regret it. Kind of like what Patrick was saying about his 2014 book.
never happened except on Goodreads.
I saw it on Good. Is it the Burlap Bears?
Yeah. Such a cute name, right?
That actually, yeah, I mean, that I don't mean this in a mean way. It sounds like a cute children's novel, like The Adventures
Berenstain
of
Bears.
Burlap Bears.
That's fine. I'll say it's a compliment. It's better than if you guys read it. So
Let's just close this show just beating the crap out of Pat.
I
How about
literally
that?
dealt with that all day.
I'm
at
joking,
work,
I'm joking.
sir.
We've done that for 120 episodes.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
old.
yeah. I thought it was tradition.
I want Sonora to be my new co-host because Nico picks on me with you
It's true.
guys.
Did it like 5 times.
Only 5 times.
Mike, I do like that sentiment, though, is, you know, make sure it's something that you're proud of, you know, a story that you need to tell, and don't rush it, because, you know, you only get one debut. You only get one first,
or
know,
one
then,
book, you know, even if it's your 5th book, just don't think you have to rush to remain relevant.
Mm-hmm. Nico, one thing you want to share?
Just probably just be kind to yourself with this process, especially if it's your first time. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. It'll be okay. This is books. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun at the end of the day. So try to enjoy it.
Sonora.
If you don't mind, I have just two main things I want to share, but I will make them
Sure.
quick. It's not going to be like, call me Ishmael. I self-published a book. No, like, but the first is, much as has been alluded to by Mike and Tyler and Nico and lots of people here online, write and publish the book for yourself first and then everyone else, because it is going to be largely the set, like, there, I don't want to say the only satisfaction is having your book in your hands. It's not the only satisfaction, but like, don't go in with the goal of I'm going to be a rock star author with like 20 million fans right off the bat. Like, go in just like, I'm writing this because I like to write. I like and I like putting this book together. And I really, because especially like, you really do need to like that book because you are your marketing department. So you're going to have to put a lot of love into that. And if you don't like what you've written, well, I would ask why you want to self-publish it. But yeah, that's a lot of times what people mean when they say write for you first, because it is a very personal endeavor. And so you want to just take good care of that. And on the release end of it, the second point I want to add, and I think it's very important, is that if after you've had this book out, if you're not pleased with like how low the sales might be, or maybe the turnaround on reviews, especially from independent bloggers, please do not complain about it online, and especially not directly to the reviewers themselves. The latter is incredibly rude, and the former at best just makes it look like you're carrying sour grapes. Like, I mean, I'm not saying don't ever complain. We don't have to all walk around like with sunshiny happy faces, but it is noticeable. Like, I definitely see authors who seem to complain more than anything else, and or think that they should be Stephen King already. And I'm like, I don't think you're writing for you, my friend. So,
And they're not reading either, because they don't. That's a really good point, because they
Yeah.
like, I didn't have a TBR when I started writing,
yeah.
and I wasn't pushy, but at the same time, now I have a TBR, and I'm like, it ain't happening. I'm not gonna read that book by next month. I'm
But
buried like they
yeah.
are.
No, it's a lot. I mean, like, I was recently reading a lot of books for blurbing, and I was very honored and loved reading these books to blurb ahead of time. But then when I sat down and realized I wasn't reading on a schedule, I'm like, oh wow, this is like something I haven't done in a long time. And this was just me doing that for like 3 or 4 weeks. So I
Yeah.
can only imagine what like the reviewers are going through. So, just the reason I say don't complain about it online is not only because it's rude, but that is a record. Like, if you just really are feeling upset about something, write it in your journal, talk about it with a friend, but keep it off your social media persona, like, because you don't want that to follow you around, unless that's the
Yeah.
personality you're trying to cultivate, in which case I don't know. So
So yeah, Sonora, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think it's such a vital thing to know about self-promotion, and we very nearly zoomed right by it. So good on you for bringing that up. Tyler, I feel like you gave us a lot of really good stuff like 5 minutes ago for this question, but do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I actually, I'm so glad Sonora brought that up. I was going to say that if somebody was coming to me saying, Tyler, I'm gonna self-publish a book, I would caution them to be aware of what kind of things you're posting online. There are, and I hate to say this, there are books that I thought I wanted to read until the author turned me off from reading it, and that's just the sad truth. And it may be a great book, but I don't like negativity. I don't like complaining. I don't like subtweeting at people. There's lots of things. I don't like arrogance. There's things out there that just make me not want to enter whatever world that person has created. So something to be aware of, I would think, for anyone wanting to self-publish. And actually, Sonora, I had kind of the same second point, which was the best piece of writing advice I've ever received that means the most to me is write the book you want to read. So I would say publish the book that you want to read as well. It should be hand in hand. You got to believe in this thing, love this thing, believe that it deserves to exist, and that it's a story that other people hopefully will enjoy. And so publish it in that way. Don't just put all the love into the story itself, but put love into how you're presenting it to the world to give it the best shot that it can have. And I think if you're doing that, it goes back to what you said, doing it for you, because it's an act of joy and love and wanting to share this story. Yeah, those are the two things that I would advise potential self-published authors.
And even just, taking it up that next notch to be careful, period, what you post online, because like we said earlier, there are a lot of great books out there. It's an honor to have a reader select yours. And if your book gets, eliminated from contention before they even know what it's about because of the way you, compose yourself on social media, that's a strike against you that could have been avoided. So yeah, I think that's a great point. All right.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
When writing, there's a mantra that runs through my head is I do my absolute best to get out of the way of the story. I don't want the writing to impede the story in any way. And I think that the same is true of writers on social media, that we have to be sure that we're not getting in the way of the book having a life. Get out of the way.
Definitely. Okay, I'm going to send it around just one last time to wrap this thing up, and I'm going to give you all 3 points. So where can people follow you? Do you have anything you'd like people to check out? Anything new, anything old you want to promote? And if there are any final thoughts that, that we somehow didn't cover that you'd like to throw in, take it away. Nico, let's start with you.
You can find me at Nico Bell Fiction on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can check out my latest short story, which is Skin Deep for Blood and Bone Anthology from Ghost Orchid. And I have a new book coming out in February called Beyond the Creek by D&T Publishers. And thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited. I'm looking forward to my new Severed Arm with Chuck Palahniuk's signature on it. Thank you, Tyler. And yeah, I hope you guys have me back on. I always feel like you're never going to have me back on.
But I keep doing it. So yeah. No, we love you, Nico. We love having you.
This is the last time.
That's a threat.
Right.
I'm going to go out on a severed limb and say that you'll be back.
Thank you.
Mike, how about you?
Okay. You can find me at sleek.bio/Michael Clark Books. Those are all my Twitter links and all that stuff.
What's Sleek?
Nice.
Right. And I would like to promote my new hardcover, my first hardcover ever. This is a fresh 2021 edit of my first book, Patience of a Dead Man. I plan to go through the other ones as I can, but this is my baby, and mom's getting a hardcover for Christmas. So there's that. And then as far as advice for recapping the show and whatever, if anybody ever wants to reach out to me and just, you want a copy of this nightmare, and I'll send it to you, and I'll tell you what not to do and what worked and what didn't, and just hit me up.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. As always, a pleasure. I think this is your 3rd trip here.
Yeah,
Probably
thank you.
won't be your last.
I appreciate it. No, you guys have been great.
Yeah, no, we love having you on as well, man. Sonora, how about you?
Yes, so you can find me at my website, sonorarights.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Sonora Writes or on Instagram at Sonora Taylor, though lately my Instagram has been more food than books, but I'm not great at Bookstagram, but I am on there. And I'm also on Goodreads if you'd like to follow me on there. My latest release is my 4th short story collection, Someone to Share My Nightmares. It's romantic horror or horrific romance, however you want to look at it in the story. So I hope you'll pick that up. It's available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover as well. And yeah, I hope anyone listening to this gets some better ideas for what self-publishing is like. I know one of the things that was really helpful for me was reading other people's experiences, as well as going to some classes and learning about what different people experience, and then just finding and then taking all those little things and making it into my own thing. And I think that's the best way you can approach it. So, and if you're listening and you ever want to ask me about it, feel free to tweet me, and my tweets are open. So I'm always happy to answer people's questions.
Awesome. And Sonora, I think this is your 4th time here, so you're winning, actually.
Yes, that's right. I
Yep.
think after I get my 5th hole in the punch card, I get to like take over.
You're like the Steve Martin.
You
like
get a
he's hosted
copy of the
Saturday Night Live.
Burlap Bears.
Oh,
yeah.
no, I get to do a reading of it live on.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
This is your version of The Day the Clown Cried, the Jerry Lewis movie that he never wanted anyone to see.
I regret telling you that, Brennan, you son of a bitch.
You brought it up. You wanted to talk about your experience, so this is entirely on you.
Yes, it is, as always. Tyler, go ahead, sir.
All right. You can find me online at tylerjones.net, on Twitter and Instagram at tjoneswriter. Just a couple weeks ago, I re-released my first 2 novellas in extended editions that have brand new novellas in them. So Criterium, The Dark Side of the Room. And then I compiled the new novellas from the extended editions into 1 volume called Enter Softly. And then my first novel is out, Almost Ruth. So if you're so inclined and you like spooky stories, I'd be honored if you checked them out.
That's out. That's out already. Almost Truth is out.
It is out. It is out.
And it is
All right,
excellent.
I gotta hit you up
Thanks,
there
Brennan.
on that. I will make a note.
Listeners, thank you for joining us. Everyone, Sonora, Mike, Tyler, Nico, thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you.
It's great to do episodes like this because you never know who or when. It could be years from now. Someone that is new starting out listens to this. I started in 2013 reading books, and I didn't really get into podcasts until a few years later. But if I was new and heard this episode, I feel like it gave me a lot of inspiration. So really appreciate you guys being on. Brennan, thank you for coming up with the idea, man. And listeners, next episode will be, we have 1 Spotlights episode left. That's with Kathy Koja. That's coming out early December. And then followed by our season 2 finale with John Skip. And those dates are Kathy Koja's is December 2nd. Skip's is December 6th. And we're off for a month. So thank you for listening. Stay tuned for that. And reach out to any of these authors if you are so inclined to buy their books. And as always, you have many choices in podcasts. Thank you for picking us. That's a wrap, everyone. Thank you.
We were all being recorded while we did this hand thing, so.